Where is your identity found? That's really the question here. And mom and dad, how are you using the time at the table to impress upon your children who they are and whose they are? Because listen, it's going to happen to you and me, and it's going to happen to our boys and girls. They're going to get out into life, and they're going to have this really tough moment. What does it mean to love God when our life just becomes a mess? What does it look like? Notice what it says here, Matthew 22:37. And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. The word love here is agapao, which means to take pleasure in something, to prize it above other things, to be unwilling to forsake it or go without it. Now what's interesting is that each of us have something that we agapao, that we choose that we will not go without. And it could be something or someone. And when it's something or someone, what happens when we lose it, when the Harvey moment comes, it reveals what we worship. Tim Keller, in his book, Counterfeit Gods, opens his book with this. After the 2008 global economic crisis, a tragic strings of suicides followed. The acting chief financial officer of Freddie Mac, the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, hanged himself in his basement. The CEO of Sheldon Good, a leading U.S. real estate auction firm, shot himself in the head behind the wheel of his red Jaguar. A French money manager who invested the wealth of many of Europe's royal and leading families and who had lost $1.4 billion of his clients' money in the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme slit his wrist and died in his Madison Avenue office. See, I would argue that those who despaired unto death here, they worshiped money. They loved money and worshiped money. And in the midst of that, when it was gone, they had no reason to live. They had come to emptiness. They had come to nothing. Their Harvey moment, their long, overwhelming, daunting moment caused them to take their own lives because that moment exposed their idol, what they worshiped. And when they lost it, they lost their identity, they lost their purpose, they saw no reason to live. Look at what Jesus says, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. We call this the great suggestion. Wait a minute. We call this the great commandment. It's a commandment. You and I are called to love Him even when life gets hard and devastating. With all we have, our heart, our soul, our mind, our strength, we're called to love Him. Jesus instructs us. Now, why is it so important to do this? Because of the disappointing nature of life. Life will disappoint you. Amen? Been there? Done that? Wrote the book about it, probably. Life is disappointing, right? And when we place our hope in someone or something, a position, an accomplishment, an achievement, we set ourselves up for a great fall. So hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And when you get up, when you lie down, when you sit, when you're walking, as you come in your house, as you go out of your house, remember this. It's at the table. Your identity is established, who and whose you are, because you're going to go out into life and it's going to disappoint you. It's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult. Now, why can He say this? Because of what God has done for us. Notice in Exodus chapter 20, verses 2 and 3, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. That is the opening statement, and then you shall have no other gods before me is commandment 1 of the 10. He didn't just say, all right, here are 10 rules, and then I'll check in on you. What does He reference first? I am the Lord your God who brought you out of slavery. This is Israel's salvation story. In a few weeks, when they have Passover, they're celebrating their salvation from being enslaved in Egypt. As they cried out to God, and God heard, and He brought up leaders, and He raised up plagues, and He opened the Red Sea, and He brought them out. It is their salvation story as a nation, as a people. Pray for Israel. Pray for the Middle East right now. I wake up to the news. I was turning the news on briefly, and it's like, wow, a lot going on over there. We have friends over there right now. Praying for them. Many of you probably do as well. Your neighbors will have friends in that region right now. But notice, because of who I am and what I've done, you are to love me. You are to worship me. You are to esteem me above all things. I'm to be first and I'm to be foremost. So where is your identity found? That's really the question here. And mom and dad, how are you using the time at the table to impress upon your children who they are and whose they are? Because listen, it's going to happen to you and me, and it's going to happen to our boys and girls. They're going to get out into life, and they're going to have this really tough moment. And those whose identity is wrapped up in their achievements and their successes, in what they did or didn't achieve or do or perform, they're going to walk out not knowing how to navigate life because they don't know how to clean this up. In the midst of your Harvey moment, worship Jesus, y'all. He's worthy of it. He's worthy of it.